All right, guys, welcome back. I hope you guys are enjoying the training so far. We've covered an awful lot, and we're at a really critical element of the fat loss lifestyle phase. And I want to talk today about sleep. Okay, so sleep is one of these things that, for some reason, it seems to be neglected, but it really is. If you think about it, as far as a pyramid type goes. Sleep really is at the base of that pyramid, okay? You cannot achieve lasting lifestyle change without appropriate sleep, or at least without appropriate rest and recovery. So, the good news is that we all sleep, right? We must sleep. Otherwise, we would not function. So everyone is getting some sleep. But if we had none, then we would, of course, be out of control and we would be going crazy in the head, because it's just not compatible with life to not actually get any sleep. But the issue is that many of us are sleeping with poor quality or less quantity than is really necessary for us to function optimally. And some people can actually get away with less sleep and be completely fine. And these are the people that are really good managers of stress, okay? And they are able to stay calm and in stressful environments and not get worked up, because what the body really needs is it needs to be at ease, okay? So it's just that most people in the Western world only know how to really be at complete ease through sleep, okay? And so that's why I wanted to talk about sleep today, okay? And so I want to talk briefly about the importance of sleep, because when we talk about the body change, and we talk about weight loss, and we talk about fat loss, and we talk about all these things, most people think that diet and exercise, as we discussed, that they usually think, exercise first, exercise first, diet second, right? Oh, if I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to go start working out. That's what I got to do. I just got to go work out, and then I got to focus on my diet. Okay. And you've learned now that that's wrong, right? Diet comes first, exercise is second. And people rarely think about sleep. But if we had to put a hierarchy on this, we would probably put sleep, or what I say, mindfulness, as number one, okay? And then exercise as number two, and then diet, okay? But so what I really mean is, really mindfulness and movement is going to be number one, and then diet, and then exercise, okay? Meals, metabolic, same thing. And the reason why we are going to put sleep as number one is because sleep is the primary hormonal reset in the body, okay? In fact, if we talk about balancing a hormonal metabolism and we talk about hunger, energy, and cravings, what we know for sure is that if you deprive people of sleep, and by deprive, I mean anything really, less than, 7 hours a night, you're going to be convincing them or, producing in them hunger changes and energy changes and cravings. And this has been shown over and over and over, again, like in sleep research, that those who are not sleeping enough, quantity for enough hours, and those who have poor quality sleep, their heck is out of control, okay? Their heck is not in check. Sleep comes first. The other thing about sleep is that sleep is the primary willpower battery charger. And people who sleep or are at ease can do more. They can handle stress better in their lives. And one of the other key things that sleep is really critical with, and most people, it's self-evident, but most people don't really think about this, is that their sleep is their major way that they can control calories, okay? And obviously, like for 99.99% of people in the world, there are people who sleep eat, but that's a whole separate medical disorder, but you can't really eat and sleep at the same time. Okay. And so throughout our history, throughout our evolution as humans, we have had periods of time where we ate and where we are sort of in a building mode, and then periods of time where we don't eat and we're in sort of a burning mode. Okay. And sleep is a primary time that we can control calories because we simply cannot eat. And so you can see it's, is it not only that you are staying up later watching late night TV, but many people are eating during that time at night, where they typically would be sleeping if they were living in a more natural state without the TVs and stuff like that. And that has had profound consequences, okay? And several lines of research has shown that the majority of calories in the Western world, especially in America, come in the evening when most people should be sleeping. And sleep is the number one way that we can really combat this, okay? So get to bed early, and that's going to be an easy way to control your calories. Get your 8 hours of sleep, and that's going to help out a lot, okay? And then the other thing is that, sleep also helps control stress. It's the number one, sort of aid for stress. Not only do we have more stress in our lives just naturally, but we cannot come back, the stress that we can't combat the stress in that way very well. Okay. And so let's talk a little bit about the structural aspects of this. Okay. Remember, everything's about structural flexibility. Okay. You're supposed to be becoming the detective and not really the dieter, right? Doing what works for you, not exactly what I say, but what has been shown to work for you. Okay. And you need to understand that sleep, and you need to sort of understand how you start this out, is that, sleep, the first thing you need to do is you have to stop thinking about sleep. There's people who brag about getting 4 to 6 hours of sleep. That's all I need is 4 to 6 hours of sleep, as if that's something to be proud of. Okay. It's not something really to be proud of, and it will absolutely catch up with you, especially if you're living a high pace lifestyle. At a minimum, really, we should all be getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Okay. And I can tell you from clinical experience, those who are not sleeping appropriately have the most difficult time when it comes to dieting. Okay. Now, does this mean that your friend's getting 6 hours of sleep who's very lean is, gonna one day get fat? No, that's just a genetic uniqueness. Okay. And this is one component, the most important one, but I'm sorry, it's a metabolic uniqueness. So not a genetic. The most important one is that she's eating right and doing all the other stuff, and he or she is probably going to be just fine. But this is what you want to shoot for, is 8 to 10 hours. The other thing that we need to understand is that light is also not only is sleep incompatible, but sleep and light don't go hand in hand either. Okay. And what we've also known is that bright lights shining on our eyes can disrupt the ability to get asleep for some people and stay asleep and have just quality sleep. Okay. Again, this is really unique to each person, but there's some people going to have a bright light shining right in their face, and they're going to be able to go to sleep just fine. They're also going to they're going to wake up rested and fine. Okay. But there's a lot of people that it affects, how they go to sleep and the actual quality. And we can say that research shows in clinical experience tells us that people who are staying up under bright lights at night are going to be more wired and have sort of an altered physiology. And so we want to be in a state where we have less light exposure for as long as possible. So not only should we be sleeping 8 to 10 hours per night, but we shouldn't have bright TVs and computer screens and phones in our eyes right before we go to bed either. So you might say, Nat, this sounds like it's getting into, this sounds great, but it's just like, how am I going to do all this? I live a life where I like to watch TV. I like to do all these things and play on my phone. I understand that. But first, I'm going to give you, I'm just giving you the structure here. And it's really up to you to make this fit and adapt it to you. Okay. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. And the next thing that we want to worry about here is this whole idea of temperature and things like that there's a particular temperature that people sleep best with. And that tends to be in cooler temps. Okay. And so one of the things that you want all of a sudden is to look at, is this whole idea of sleep hygiene, getting to bed earlier, if possible, having a situation where you're not exposed to bright lights at night. Maybe you're using candles, or you've got the dimmers or the blue lights. Okay. And things like that, as well as having the right temperature. And then the fourth piece here that I want to say is, about a sleep ritual. One of the things that is sleep is a very trained thing. And so if you're somebody who has sort of a sporadic sleep schedule, you're going to struggle a little bit. And maybe some days, you'll stay up till 11, maybe other days you'll go to bed earlier. But the idea is that you really want a sleep schedule. And that's going to be important as we talk about in the next video with sleep nutrition. Okay, so going to bed at the same time every night. But at very core level here, you have to make a decision as you're sort of going through this training, you know, a lot of people get excited about, oh, I learned all this diet stuff and I learned this exercise stuff and the female phase training, you know, and I'm doing this and I'm trying to tweak this program. But if you really want to get away from the dieting mentality and become the detective and make this a real lasting lifestyle, you have absolutely got to get your sleep. Okay. And you've got to get it in check. These are the big pieces here. And I'm not just going to leave you with this because I know many of you struggle with sleep. And, you know, matter of fact, it's epidemic in our society, you know, these sleep issues. But at its very core, for the structure part of this, not just the flexibility part, but, you know, which we're going to get into in a minute, this is really what you should be looking at. Okay. You should be looking at, am I sleeping 8 to 10 hours a night? And if you're not, then you want to work, you know, to do that, all right? Or take time throughout the day to put the body at ease, okay? To close your eyes, sit still, take a nap. And, you know, we now have all kinds of technology that can record our shows and things like that. So if it's important to you to make this lifestyle switch, then it's a simple choice, okay? Either your late night, you know, TV show, Netflix show is more important to you than getting the body that you say you want and living a healthy lifestyle, or it isn't. And that is literally the choice that you're making, all right? And the light issue is something that can be taken care of with dimmers or blue lights or blue light glasses or candles and that kind of stuff. You know, or even, you know, like you can turn it down on the computer screen. So that's another thing that, you know, you can do to avoid that stimulation. Temperature, again, is very important here as well. So you want a cool temperature, you know, lower than typical room temp. A little bit lower is what we find to, you know, to be important. And then a sleep schedule again. So which we won't get into here, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So this is really important for you guys to understand how and why sleep is so critical. Okay. Another thing that I'll say here is that when you can't sleep, when sleep is not when you're not able to sleep, one of the things that you probably want to begin to do is look at some of the other things that you can do to balance your hormones, right? And reset it if you can't sleep. So things like a nap, meditation, going out for a slow walk, okay? So if you can't meditate, then do something to relax, like a hot bath. You know, understand that you're going to have to do something for this hormonal reset here. So all you moms out there that have really, you know, newborn babies, you're going to have to up the ante on this stuff, okay? And by the same token, if you can't sleep at least don't stay up late eating and munching on stuff constantly, because one of the major benefits of sleep, again, in terms of fat loss and body change, is that it's not compatible with eating, okay? So you're just not meant to eat, you know, late into the evening like that. And so that's why oftentimes we'll recommend here, you know, at Fit Chic Nutrition, that people take a 12-hour break. You know, may have heard of the whole thing of like intermittent fasting and things like that. But really it's like a 12-hour, you know, that's the easiest way to do it. You know, it's the most natural way to do it as well, is simply do not eat for 12 hours, you know, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And that's one of the best things that you can do to reduce calories and even balance hormones. And, you know, it can just really help you. So in the next video, I'm going to cover some supplements with you guys and also some sleep nutrition. All right.